A good short film needs to be succinct, specific, direct, and to the point. A good short film length is normally from 5 to 10 minutes, so it needs to be succinct to fill them 5 to 10 minutes with pure, gripping narrative. It can't be too complex either. The narrative and storyline needs characters with a certain amount of depth within them, because there's only a certain time limit with which the character can actually express that depth which they have inside them. The more interesting the narrative, the more engaged an audience member would be. The narrative structure could be episodic, could be linear, but you need to make that obvious choice as the filmmaker before creating the narrative. It is essential to know whether you will do an episodic or a linear narrative, and you need to bear that in mind when thinking about sound, cinematography, dialogue, locations, etc, etc. You can play around with the structure and change it a bit. Doing this could make it more intriguing for the audience and for the character's point of view. The characters in a short film need to be kept rather minimal. If it's a feature film, you can get away with 5 or 6 large and detailed roles. However, with a short film and the amount of time you have to get depth characterization across, you need less main actors, so maybe 1 or 2 main characters that drive the narrative themselves. This is so you can focus more deeply on the subtext of the 2 main characters that you have in the film. The most interesting thing to do with a character with an audience member is have the point of view of the character and have that develop the character's emotional journey and arc throughout the scene. It is a director's job to get the performance of an actor out through the expression in which the actor creates using the character. Dialogue. The scriptwriter is a very, very important part of creating the narrative and making a good short film, and is the key and is the key role when developing characters as well, because within their text and dialogue which they write, the subtext and the underlying message of their character that they created will be shown in that. A film that has wacky, weird dialogue can sometimes be more interesting. This allows the dialogue and the actor to ad-lib and change to enhance the piece. This, however, is up to the director. So if the director wants ad-libbing, and if he doesn't, that's up to him. However, this could change and help the piece. Locations. Locations allow a scene to be set. A good location enhances the visual image and aesthetically how the piece will look, and whether or not it's appropriate for a film or a specific genre of a film. In fact, a particularly unsymmetrical location could work for some films. The location is subjective to the performance demands. So, for example, if you were going to do a gang film, you wouldn't do it in a royal court. You do it on an estate. So this is where thinking about locations becomes key and a vital part of making a good short film. For example, making a short film about a homeless man, you're not going to get expensive locations that require you to be inside a building, but you will use the streets and guerrilla film. Themes of a film. These are very important within making a good short film because these themes need to be brought up almost instantly. The themes can refer to a symbolism involved in the film. They could be different types of iconography. They could be a sense of false telegraphing or telegraphing itself, but they need to be a theme or an item or an emotion that is carried out through the film. This could be a dangling cause, I just said, or irony, which is a really good one, but because this allows the audience to completely relate to the actual film themselves. This allows them to be involved, and that automatically affects an audience member. Symbolism could be as simple as fingernails coming off in the piece. It could be as simple as that. Cinematography, finally, is an essential part of filmmaking. Along with sound, cinematography can make a difference between an auteur and a student film. For example, the visuals in a film can really impact the actual piece itself, and the aesthetics can create the storytelling on its own. Quality filmmaking and cinematography can show how much detail that a cinematographer has put into the film. If they look at compositions, the rule of thirds, etc., etc., that makes them think about being a good cinematographer. They can understand the elements which they make in the film, but they have to portray that in the short film. And what the performance demands and the filming demands are needed with the story and the narrative itself. Lighting and sound are very similar. Sound and lighting can impact a film massively. If there's not good sound, you can see how unprofessional it is and you just don't want to watch it. But if there's brilliant sound and crisp sound, it automatically attaches you to the film. As well as lighting, it could be amateur, but if it's professional, you really want to see more and watch. You want to watch the film more closely for these more intricate lighting setups. And this is why a good short film needs good cinematography, lighting and sound, as well as all the other elements as I mentioned. Basically, making a good short film includes every single element of mise-en-scène and filmmaking there is, because everything in filmmaking is important in its own right. Everything. And that's the end of my little video of what makes a good short film.